Hey, remember that time a French schoolteacher got decapitated in the street for the crime of showing cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad in a class full of schoolkids? Well, turns out the main teenage accuser totally exaggerated her teacher's supposed Islamophobia for shits and giggles. Well, if you don't quite remember, then just over 4 years ago, in October 2020, history and geography teacher Samuel Paty showed the students satirical illustrations of the Holy Prophet published by the controversial newspaper Charlie Hebdo in order to stimulate educational discussions of morality and on the fallout of the attacks as part of an ethics class. Probably not the best idea on his part, to be fair, repeating the exact same conditions that ended up with said news company staffers getting yeeted for naughty drawings. No! For the Charlie Hebdo offices, as you'll also remember, was the place that got invaded by rabid ham-dodging jihadi nutjobs who shot up a newsroom full of edgy yet innocent liberals in a society which claims to be a nation of free speech without blasphemy laws. But of course, that didn't stop them from imposing their own savagely fatal and instant modes of justice on the poor sods who dared to joke about a medieval wrong'un who married literal children.
Right to jail, right away.
Anyway, the shocking story was back in the news this week due to the murder trial finally coming to court over in Paris. Despite the schoolgirl remaining anonymous due to her age, her Islamist father Brahim Janina is facing charges for spreading online rumours which led to the teacher's harassment and eventual slaughter, and association with a terrorist organisation, after a bunch of his own daughter's classmates hilariously exposed him as the one who launched the digital mob against Paty in exchange for a few hundred euro dues. After the classroom incident, and despite advising the students to turn away if they thought it would be offensive, the girl then began accusing Mr. Paty of rampant Islamophobia, which ultimately triggered a radicalised 18-year-old Islamist asylum-seeking Chechen nutter called Abadabadingdong to mostly peacefully hack off the fella's head in broad daylight, and right in the heart of the City of Love. But now it's been revealed that she hadn't even been in the class at all, due to having been suspended for 2 days on bad behaviour, and had in fact invented the lie, so her parents didn't whoop her ass for lying about that. And although the 13-year-old has now issued a grovelling apology to the family of the teacher, she didn't even have the grace to admit her initial lie back when he was killed, even doubling down on the deception after having been taken into custody for questioning. Apparently, it took the serial liar over 30 hours and 2 police interviews to finally confess that the teacher wasn't actually a raging Islamophobe, but rather just an educational professional trying to educate the next generation in an ethics class. And ironically, seems to me like he might still be alive. Well, if he was indeed as Islamophobic as she made him out to be.
That's unfortunate.
But at least the French cops lit the killer up shortly after the butchering, which is more than the British plot did when this killer's limey counterparts carved up Lee Rigby in broad daylight on public streets a decade ago, because they instead took them in safely to a cushy jail where the taxpayer gets to feed and house the fuckers for the next 45 years.
Fuck you!
Anyway, the schoolgirl received an 18-month suspended sentence for the ultimately fatal allegations she made against Paty, whilst 5 of her mates, who also faced charges for criminal conspiracy with the aim of preparing aggravated violence, were handed suspended sentences and a 6-month term in tag. You know, I find it hilarious how they call MAGA and Reform voters far-right, when there's only really one demographic across the West, constantly slaughtering people in the street for their speech in a supposedly free and liberal nation without blasphemy laws. And of course, all this comes in the same week as 2 Tier 3 Gear Starmer the Farmer Harmer is being urged by his parliamentary colleagues to resist accidentally actually creating backdoor blasphemy laws, after one of his crackpot MPs called for a ban on the desecration of religious texts. And of course said MP in question is one of the usual suspects, and although he assures us that the proposal will cover all religious texts, including for the prophets of Christianity, Islam and Judaism, how much do you want to bet in reality it would only ever apply to the protected class of street beheaders? I mean, this is a government who says nothing about the tyrannical plot arresting Christian grannies silently praying for the souls of the innocent outside of abortion centres.
Pure evil!
Ultimately, we gotta ask, how are the democratic principles of a society meant to coexist with a religion and culture that is so antithetical and outright hostile to the liberal values of the West? Why do Islamists even want to move here when they know we promote sinful haram practices and don't even allow basic goat fucking? I mean, if you want to live in a country where cartoons are forbidden, there's hundreds of communist hellholes over the other side of the globe to go settle in, where they too hate humour, enlightenment and general principles of free speech, and not intimidating opposition to the point of self-censorship. Or else there's always Canada, I suppose.
This is what we're doing it for, so they all can have Right after that, the 49-year-old woman who uses a walker was run over by Toronto Police Service's horses that rolled through the crowd. Onlookers were heard yelling at police to stop.
Stand down! Oh my gosh! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
And I guess this also serves as a cautionary tale against believing all women without credible evidence, no matter what militant mantras the feminazis try to chant into your brain. Or else you too might find yourself on the receiving end of false allegations and have your life destroyed over phony fakey lies spewed by weak and self-centred immature brats. Or else, by all means, believe all women, except teenage schoolgirls who are trying to cover up their truanting. Believe all women, except when they're shilling for Jussie Smollett in obvious hate crime hoaxes. And bloody believe all women, except when they shit on your pillow and try blaming it on the family dog. Instead, better you take him to court and expose them on national TV for being absolute garbage, and then go back to visiting kiddies in cancer hospitals dressed as your most iconic beloved character like an absolute G.